place, but not implemented. Women are represented in committees, but some of them, maybe they wrongly choose them, like what we have in our parliament with the quota. The quota does not represent the qualified women, something with how they put the quota. So sometimes you find women in some of the committees, they are not qualified. They don't have the right skill to do the job or the work that they're supposed to do. Again, very important thing is change. Attitude change is very important. Like what you said about human rights. Still, in developing country, they don't understand that men and women have the same right, and these rights are human rights. They don't believe in this. Again, they don't believe in the women, they have the same right like them, and they should compete at the same level with the same criteria. So what we need is the problem in water sector, it is in the decision making in particular. Like you said, I'm the only woman who reached the SG position, and it was very hard. And I don't know who will be the next one, who will, when they want to appoint me, they talked with the Prime Minister and saying, she's a woman, she cannot talk with the farmers. For this is of the thing that it should be clear. When you said in the SDGs, or could be the donors agency, when they said you have to have a gender item, it should be monitored, and it should be, you should follow on this, rather than having a workshop saying, well, I'm going to, let's say, capacity building for the gender to do the work. You should follow this, and you make sure just equity, I said, and equal opportunity to both, and you'll see how many women will be in the top level. And from my own experience, yes, I gave them the chance, and it's no harm if I can help them, if she can leave an hour later, so she can take care of her family. Why not, as long as she provides. And in the council, now we announce a new, let's say, bylaw, which we call it a flexible labor hour, where it is particularly for women, but again, men can benefit from this. So they choose the right timing they need, and they can deliver the same job. Again, I always talk about an experiment whose I'm always proud of, and it shows how women can be as much better as men. As we have the initiative, or which we call it, we teach the woman to be plumber, and now we have a woman who do this business, and they are certified. I don't know how many is the number now. Maybe people in the ministry, they will tell us about this. They do the things, and they do it in a very perfect way. And this shows that, okay, they can save a vast amount of water, which we lack here in Jordan. But again, this is also a challenge, traditional, let's say, patriarchal role that recommend, this job, plumbing, is only for men. With this small, medium educated women, they master this, and they're very good. For this is one example, and a woman at any level she can compete with the men.
Thank you. I know there might be some questions from the audience, but we will take that later, if you'll wait. Please, Yana.
Thank you, Anya. I need to give a little bit of a background about the organization I work with, because for you to understand the program and what we're trying to do with gender equality and women empowerment. So the organization I work with is called EcoPeace Middle East, and we're focused on building peace through environmental issues. We're very focused on water and transboundary water issues. One of the main or the largest programs that all our other programs derive from is called the Good Water Neighbors program. And in the Good Water Neighbors program, we work with all sectors of communities who share water resources. And most of the communities, if we look at them that share the water resources on the Jordanian side, they're all rural communities. Communities that are very poor, that face a lot of water challenges. In that community, we work with the adult sector, meaning all the adult stakeholders that are residents within that community. And mainly, when we're talking about, let's say, the Jordan River or the Jordan Valley, we're talking about farmers. But we also work with the municipal level. So we work with the mayors and municipal staff within that community. Most importantly, we work with the youth sector, who we all know that are next leaders who will be representing us in the future. So with that background, and with the different activities that we do with all the different sectors, we make sure as an organization that we empower, when it comes to water issues, to empower all the stakeholders in that communities. And when I say stakeholders, it's an equal opportunity, meaning bringing both women and men, youth, girls, and boys, and empowering them with the same level of information. So when we're talking about our youth activities, we bring the youth together, both boys and girls, to understand and be part of understanding the water realities within their communities on the national levels and across the border with the neighboring countries. And we ask them, we empower them to be part of identifying solutions for the water problems. It's then up to them, when we empower them with that same level, who finds themselves more capable to take it on to the future. And I'm certainly seeing more girls within the rural communities we're working in that are taking it a step further. Women in the communities as well. They have so much hidden potential. But the point I was talking about before, many of them don't understand their rights, don't understand that it's their rights to be there, to become leaders, to become decision makers. We help them identify this. We help them take it a step further. And Maysoon was saying she was the first Secretary General, and as a well, hopefully not, because we're going to be working together on empowering more. And I say, hopefully, by the kind of work we're doing in the rural communities, I'm sure there are many others that are working in other cities and urban areas, but hopefully we'll have the next Secretary General to become a woman in the water sector by empowering those women in those communities to understand their rights, to understand their water realities, to become part of the solution they identify.
Yes, I just want to, I know that the ambassador has to leave at 3. I'm not keeping your appointments or anything, but you might want to consider this. Yes, please, Maysoon.
And this is comment especially to our counterpart, the men. The argument, if the women are empowered and to carry out the economic activity like what we are calling now, and without deliberately altering the the gender domestic regular duties or roles, let's say, at the household. So this will be, we impose on them a further burden on them if they will keep on working outside the house and inside the house. This is where we want our counterpart to understand if they're ready to help their counterpart, let's say women, helping them, and if they are empowered and want to do the work, to share with them, let's say, or some of the work at the household can be carried out by the men. So this is very important for them to if they really understand the benefit of having their counterpart working in economic business of water, why not to share with them some of the unchanging, let's say, domestic gender roles and responsibilities.
Thank you. I think this with partnership is important, partnership between men and women, but maybe also maybe we need help from other types of agents. I don't know. We have a question that we posed about this. So what kind of, maybe we need to work with other types of organizations. Anthi, please. You've been working a lot with private sector participation. Pros and cons, can they push gender mainstreaming of the SDGs, or is that a difficult aspect? Please.
Well, not so straightforward, let's say, as you might expect, or we may wish it to be, actually. So it might be actually more fertile ground to initiate this whole process about gender mainstreaming within the private sector if we do manage to bring them on board, simply because it is easier to convince them about the benefits. Because there are several economic benefits from getting more women into the workforce. There have been several studies where they claim that if you increase, your power, the staff members by 50% and having gender, actually female representatives inside, you actually have significant increases in both efficiency and productivity, and also in terms of integrity and accountability. Of course, this is to be discussed in the long term, if this is something that can continue to be, when women are more, let's say, anchored within the system, but it's something to consider. Private sector, yes, because it is an opportunity to, by providing certain incentives and linking them with economic benefits, you can actually convince them a little bit more easily to get, the gender element more or fully on board. But then we need to remember that, public and private are not so different, essentially. We're talking about just different aspects of the same coin. So it's a matter about capacitating the female representatives to be involved, and also capacitating the rest to actually get them involved. So it's a two-way process. For this, however, we do need to base this on more solid analysis and be able to talk with figures, because it's always easier to convince when you do have figures to show for that. So this whole issue about the gender disaggregation and doing it at both national and regional levels is something that we haven't quite got around to doing it. I just needed to continue actually stressing, I think with all the other colleagues, this whole process that it's actually time demanding and energy demanding, and it is about a paradigm shift essentially. And we're talking about a behavioral change, and these things don't happen overnight. And we're all doing our bits, but it's surprising how easy it is to forget about these things. So more agents in, yes. Private sector, yes, it is a good way to go. But we need to have the same standards.
So something about that the arguments, you might reach them easier with some of the efficiency arguments. Maybe, yeah. Okay. Well, let me pose it as a very most feeding. We always talk about getting engagement from the women's movement or making use of the knowledge that they have as well. I mean, private sector is one thing, but they don't necessarily know how to gender mainstream. And so maybe both Yana and Maysoon would like to provide your perspective on this. Is that something you're doing? It's something you would like to see more, using women's or gender organizations from the civil society?
It's definitely something we want to see more, and in our work we want to see that, like I said, all different parties involved I don't know if it has to be only women-specific organizations. I don't see, definitely there will be an added value, but I personally would like to see that all organizations, involved, not only women-specific, because a man has to a role to play here, and I'm always insisting because we're trying to highlight more in the recent years women empowerment, and I'm saying it doesn't mean that I would have an activity that would be focused on women alone. No, I would like to see a whole full of gender equality, both men and women, because they both have a role to play there. But again, definitely we'd like to see more participation and more partnership and engagement with other organizations that will play a role here.
Yes, for me, I see everyone has a stake and everyone has a contribution to make. It is not only, like she said, it's not only women NGOs or civil society, whatever. It should be also representative from state, non-state. I become a Secretary General because at that time I had a minister who has something outstanding and he believed in women. That's why he helped me come and be a Secretary General. So we need somebody, pioneers from the government, non-state donors, they have a great role to do, and of course the civil society as a pivotal ally for gender equality. The commitment, let's say, the commitment of Regional National Women's Organization to working in, let's say, collaborative and coordinated manner will be decisive to success of the efforts of removing any legal, whatever social, economic barriers against women empowerment and promote gender equality. The Women for Water Partnership, they bring a gender focus to the water management at all levels. They bring the views of the women views up to the policy at different level, and again at lower level they have a big program in capacity building of those women. So not all of the women have the opportunity to be trained, so we need a lot of capacity building to them in order to be able to do so. And again, I would say also the donors, sometimes we used to have something with the USAID called condition precedent, which imposed something to the government in order to have them reform some of their policies. Why not to be a gender? Some of the CPs is gender, so why not to have, let's say,
gender
one
conditionality?
Yeah, it is important because without this, you witness this. Even I, Yusra, she was surprised about the parliament, and we have a lot of many qualified women that can be there and do a lot of things, but because of the system of the quota there, I don't know how they built this, so they show, the women that are on board, they are not qualified, and you stop talking about women, they're not good. For this is one of the things that you should work hard with women organization, everybody, somebody from the government, to qualify, to capacity, make capacity building of the women, and to upgrade them, even to employ the good ones. And it is the benefit for all.
2 comments, Anthi and then Erik, and then I think we close this, and then we open for questions. Thank you, please.
No, very briefly, that the one side it has to do with inviting more stakeholders to be involved in the process and opening it up. And the other thing is also to empowering our own organizations and all the others working with us internally to be able to respond to this challenge by having, for example, gender focal points within. Or if we don't want it to be so specific, it could be a little bit wider than that and talking about mainstreaming diversity within the respective organizations. So we're not talking only about women, we're talking about youth. We can talk about the less privileged segments of the population. We can talk about minorities. We can talk about refugees, so it is actually an overarching framework that can easily accommodate such concerns and can be more easily camouflaged, if you like, if needed.
Thank you. I just wanted to make 3 reflections from what the colleagues have been saying. First, Maysoon, as being the only Secretary General, if I understand it correctly, you have to be much better because you're a woman. Remember that, especially in a society that is very dominated by men. If a woman reaches a high position, most often she's better than her colleagues, because she is measured from different standards. So I know that in this room you have people that are hiring people, and if you are hiring people in a region that is